Brian, bearing in mind the situation that's developing in New York City right now, what's your reaction to the president's crackdown on ghost guns? That was what he was all about yesterday afternoon, went to great lengths on ghost guns. Your reaction?
This is all about crime and punishment. We have the crime, we supplied that. Can we get some punishment? That allows the law and order, the officers to do their job, knowing they'll be held to pay if I bring him or her in for the crime that they perpetrated instead of getting right out. That's the same story in New York, in Chicago, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. The ghost guns is such an insult. As the sheriff I spoke to this morning out in San Francisco is now running for office, he says it's like blaming the car for a drunk driver. Yeah, ghost guns are a problem. Of course, if you have a unmarked gun that was put together with parts, yeah. But guess what, Stuart? I could get you could order a ghost gun right now. You're not gonna shoot anybody. I'm not shooting anybody. Most of our audience could get a ghost gun and not have it registered, but you're not gonna be killing anybody.
Brian Kilmeade decided to take that approach when it came to what happened just yesterday on that morning subway commute when a gunman opened up fire, put a smoke bomb in there and make sure no one could see what was happening. Now, ghost guns is the problem because President Biden brought that up as a measure to try and slow down the insane rate of murder that we have at the hands of guns. And he wants to point out there, hey, anyone can get a ghost gun, except who's gonna use it for real? I mean, what's really gonna happen? It's not really a big deal, but it's kind of a big deal. He was on both sides of the argument because he needs to make sure he lands with the ghost gun people, because those guys are good, responsible gun owners in America. Regardless, it's gonna move on more because as they went through this whole thing, they did want to talk more about these ghost guns and how bad it is, and how it's not actually a problem of how much we're actually shooting each other. Watch more.
I am not a gun owner, but I'm for the Second Amendment. What they would say is the first thing they did in Venezuela is take away the guns. In Australia, you're not allowed to carry a gun. In China, in Shanghai, they just basically jailed 25 million people for testing positive and being asymptomatic. So the first thing they do is disarm you in society, and then they take over your life. And in Australia, believe it or not, I've never seen such a vicious crackdown from the pandemic from what they did in Australia. And I'm not saying that they wouldn't have done it if they had guns, but I'm telling you, the American people will never be disarmed. Right. Give it up, especially by a president with 36% approval rating, with barely with a majority in the House and Senate. That's not where a lot of Democrats stand either, like Joe Manchin and John Tester.
The Second Amendment makes America a unique country.
The Second Amendment makes America a unique country, is what Stuart Varney then said as well. Maz, okay. Somehow we've gone from the shooting that happened on that subway train yesterday to then how ghost guns and banning them isn't something we should be doing, to then about those countries that actually have gun regulations. It means that they now have the mask mandates and vaccine requirements put in order. And if they just had more guns, maybe they wouldn't have put those laws in place. Why? Because the citizens would have just gone and shot at the government officials for trying to do so. This is crazy.
There's so many things that's wrong with all this. It becomes, first of all, it feels like they repeat these arguments every time something happens. They come back with these types of arguments. Secondly, it feels like they're getting more and more emboldened, because the fact is, a tragedy just happened where somebody went and did a mass shooting in New York City, and rather than giving it a moment to breathe, they dive right into another issue that's related to ghost guns. It feels like ghost guns to me. I mean, I'm not a gun expert, but if people are creating guns that we can't track or trace, it feels to me that everybody should be on board. Even legitimate gun owners should be on board to say, well, getting different pieces of a gun and creating a gun, it's not a good thing. Let me go buy a registered gun. But these guys, they're looking for excuses. I mean, even the argument, he makes this argument about Australia having harsh COVID crackdowns, but then he says, well, I don't know if they had guns, I don't know if the crackdowns would have been different, but just in case, guns would have helped. It's all so convoluted and so sick. And it's a shame because they've really done. I will go back to one thing. The Republicans do a great job of messaging. This message they've put out there to their base that if there's one regulation against guns, they're gonna take all your guns.
Yep.
That messaging is the craziest message. They're coming for our guns. Who's coming? Nobody wants your guns. Go shoot whatever and go hunt and go do whatever you do. I mean, NRA used to be a sportsman organization, and then they became political in the 70s. Them, as well as the Republicans, have done a very good job of this messaging that freaks people out. Every time a shooting happens, they go buy more guns. It's nutty.
And now they'll say that because of regulations, they'll go buy more guns. The reality, we go buy more guns because we go buy more guns. Let's keep it real. We find any excuse we can to go buy more guns. Stuart Varney talked about the uniqueness of America there and our gun situation. He's right. We have a very unique situation here in America. Let's look at this chart here because there's an international comparison of gun-related killings as a percentage of all homicides. So we're gonna compare United States to the UK, to Canada and Australia. 79% is in 2020 from the US. In UK, 4%, in Australia, 13%, and in Canada, 37%. Again, of all homicides are related to gun killings. Very unique. And somehow this is what we're bragging about as we look at other countries. Also, these terrible gun laws in Australia, let's look at this. Australia marked its 25th anniversary of the country's worst mass shooting on Wednesday, in which a lone gunman killed 35 people and forced authorities to implement some of the world's toughest gun laws. And within 2 weeks of that massacre, the then conservative Prime Minister John Howard had brokered a national firearms agreement law that limited licensing and ownership control of guns. Also, Australia banned all semi-automatic rifles and all semi-automatic and pump-action shotguns, and thousands of unlicensed firearms were surrendered under a gun amnesty. And Australia has had no mass shootings since 1996. So this is what we're so proud of as we watch another one of these situations, which was very planned and coordinated, especially with the smoke that he threw in there and tossed in. But we need to protect our guns at all costs. So even when it comes to something like this, the answer, of course, always has to be, well, we need more of them, as Marjorie Taylor Greene said, which I'm not gonna get into, but she did say, of course, we need more guns because that's just the way we handle things in America.